Hi, Angela.
Hi.
It's hot. And nobody ever believes me when I tell them there are no sprinkler systems in our gardens.
Right.
And there's a couple of really great reasons for that.
Certainly are.
Number one, I'd like to talk about plant selection. Another thing that's a little bit hard to believe is we have not planted anything in this garden. This is all returning from not last year, but years ago.
Yes, and we had hot summers last year. We had a really kind of devastating surprise cold snap this spring. And for it to return this beautifully by June is just amazing.
So I think that one of the keys, aside from plant selection, of course, is the soil and the food.
Yes, absolutely. You know, part of the thing is the soil that we use for all of these beds, your soil, is a perfect combination of all of the ingredients to create basically a big living sponge.
Right.
So you have the compost, organic matter, which holds water, and then, but without impeding aeration and all of the other things that the plants need.
Right.
And then you have expanded shale, which absorbs 38% of its weight in water, and then re-releases that into soil upon demand.
Right.
So that combination of a living soil that has all of that ingredient to be able to manage the water in the soil is one of the big keys to this.
Well, and then you have the Arbor Gate Food Complete.
Right.
Which, with the mycorrhizal and symbiotic relationship with the root, increases your root mass up to 100-fold.
Absolutely.
So absolutely do less and get better results.
Right. Plus the minerals, which increase the nutrition in the plant sap all the way through the tissues of the plant. Right. Which give it a lot of resiliency to both heat in the summer and cold resistance in the wintertime as well.
So we've talked about plant selection. We've talked about how important our food and soil are. Now let's talk about how, when we need to water. So we water these gardens, yes, one time per week.
Even this time of year.
Even this time of year. And even in my lawn at home, San Augustine grass, one time a week. I always tell people, put some pie plates out if you have an automated system. It does a lot of things. It tells you how evenly are you really dispersing that water.
Absolutely. That's important.
Your plants grow, heads change, they get bumped. You may be watering something twice as much as you think, and another area not at all. But your goal is to see how long does it take to throw 1 inch of water.
Which is really what they need on a weekly basis to be sustained. And you can also use things, you know, cat food cans, tuna fish cans, anything with that low profile that doesn't impede the water falling into it. And when you see 1 inch of water in there, then you know that's what your soil has. It has a chance to soak in deeply. That's the other thing. Frequent shallow waterings are almost a death sentence for some plants.
They really are.
Their roots stay in the shallow zone, and then they're very sensitive to the soil, top few inches of soil drying out. So if you can encourage those roots to grow deeply into that well-watered, moist, cooler soil, then they stand summer a whole lot better.
Now, if you have no sprinkler system, like we don't here, there's one sprinkler I recommend. Of all the thousands of sprinklers on the market, there is one, and I think you even talked about it
How funny
earlier.
that it's both of our favorite sprinkler.
This little guy right here. There is absolutely nothing to break.
Nope.
I believe it's 20 minutes. It throws a 1/2 inch of water. You control the height and the distance by your water pressure.
Correct.
It's all up to you. You have total control.
You can slip it under tall shrubs. You can turn it over into low pressure and turn it into a bubbler when you need to deeply soak a tree, like especially a newly planted fruit tree. There's just so much flexibility to this. It's so funny when you mentioned it, because it's always been my favorite sprinkler. I even have one of my grandmother's. That's how long these have been around and how solid they are.
And another important thing to have with your hose is this. This is a quick turn-off valve, but it's solid brass.
Right.
They too last for years. Don't go with the plastic.
No, these
not
last
on the Gulf
a lifetime. Coast. And it allows you to not waste water, because you can turn the water at your hose source. When you're moving from bed to bed, you can turn the water off so you're not losing water there before you move to the next bed.
Right, right. And another good, I guess, heat remedy, if you will, or heat tonic, if you do see a lot of stress, heat stress on your plants, is to do a foliar feed. That's so important.
It really is. You know, I try to equate it to things like, tell people, you know, when we get overheated, the first thing they want to do is get electrolytes into you. Well, those are minerals. And foliar feeding does the same thing. Plants uptake the bulk nutrients, the N, P, and K.
Right.
They absorb those through their roots better. But the minor and trace minerals, they absorb through the foliage very quickly.
Right.
And so when your plants are stressed, if you can get that foliar out onto them, they have a chance to absorb it. It kind of builds up their resistance to the heat. It increases the nutrients in the plant sap. So we're looking at a combination of things. You can use liquid seaweed on its own or in combination with some other things.
Right. The Vitazyme is great.
Yes. And then Super Thrive, another thing that's particularly good for summer stress in the vegetable garden.
Yeah, it is. And they're under stress right now.
They really are.
And speaking of stress, is this what your plants look like?
Poor baby.
This is an overwatered plant. So we can't be fooled by wilting.
Right.
Plants are going to wilt in the heat of the day just to protect themselves from the hot sun.
Exactly.
But what do we do when we see a wilted plant?
Well,
water it.
Water it. And sometimes that's not the right answer, right?
Yes.
You know, if your plants are wilting during the daytime, they're closing themselves off to reduce the amount of evaporation or transpiration of the liquid they're holding. So if your plants are recovering as soon as it cools off in the evening, they're okay.
Right.
It's when you don't see them recovering that you know you need to do something, and there it's that deep watering. Sometimes in the case when we see a plant that's wilted and we water it and it doesn't recover right away, and our response is to water it again. And then in combination with heat and all of that water, you're basically poaching the roots.
Right.
And the plant reaches what we call the permanent wilt point, PWP. And it's gone.
Yes.
So it's not going to recover from this point. It will continue to decline.
Right, right. So I always tell people when you come home in the afternoon and your pots are wilted, don't even look at them. Just avert your eyes. Wait till dusk or wait till early morning.
Right. And that's the other thing, too, is the timing of watering.
Yes.
That early morning is best for several reasons. One, it's cooler, so we have less evaporation.
Right.
There's time for the water to soak into the soil before the heat of the day hits.
Right.
And time for the plants to fully engorge with that water so that they can get through the heat of the day. If you can't water in the morning, and a lot of people are up and out early and they can't, then late evening is best for the same reason. It's cooler, plants have a chance to absorb water. And when it gets down to it, the best time to water is when you have time.
Yes.
But if you can arrange it, morning first, late evening would be second.
Right. So, easy peasy.
Really
nothing
is.
to stress about. We can handle this.
We can.
We get these Texas summers. We never know when they're going to hit, but we can count on one thing. They'll be here.
They'll be here. And we know how to get our gardens through it. Now the key is for us to get through it.
That's right.